So what was Michael Jackson like, interviewing him and then as a friend?
Well, Michael Jackson wasn't the easiest person to interview because Michael Jackson was really, really shy,
Mm,
very quiet. He's just one of those people that blossomed when it was time for him to perform or record in the studio. But the rest of the time, he was pretty reticent.
hmm.
So interviewing him wasn't very easy because he didn't necessarily speak in complete sentences. You kind of had to prod the information out of him.
Uh,
But what happened with him is he gravitated to the fact that I looked very, very young for my age, but I spoke in a very intelligent manner. He was very impressed with that. So he enjoyed our conversation, even though it was somewhat brief. And he kind of raved about me to his dad, who Papa Joe Jackson, who was his manager at the time,
mhm.
and his uncle Lawrence, who traveled around with him. And so one day, Joe Jackson called me up in his gruff voice and said, "I want you to come by the house." And I said, "Okay, what am I supposed to do another interview?" He said, "No, I want you to come by the house. I want you to see the my kids." And
Oh,
I said, "Well, which kids? Because the Jacksons, that's a clan." He said,
right.
"Well," he said, "the ones that live at the house." So I said, "Oh, okay. Which ones still live at home?" And he said, "Michael, Latoya, Janet, and Randy."
Uh-huh.
So I said, "Okay." So I drove out there. And back then, I just had a small car, very modest. And I told my dad said, "Well, if you're going to visit the Jacksons, you need to go in a better vehicle than the one that you have." Because the one that I had was new, but it was, like I said, very modest. It
Right.
was one of the predecessors to what we now would know as a Toyota.
Okay.
So
Okay.
my dad gave me the family car, which was big, and I drove out there and I got to they had a guard gate,
Hmm.
and there was this lever that has to open, that the guard had to press so that the little arm would come up. And I was so nervous that I didn't get through in time, and
Oh
the lever
no.
started to go back down. And I said, "Oh my God, I'm going to ruin my dad's car." So I had to back up so that the car wouldn't get destroyed. And then I had to start all over and go through. And so everybody was sitting there waiting for me with their hands folded. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't really even understand what was going on." It was like everybody sitting there waiting for me, and I didn't even know what to say, because I was shy too. So it was kind of hard to break the ice. But
Yeah. Yeah.
Papa Joe Jackson broke the ice and introduced everybody as if no one would know who they all were.
Right.
And they were fascinated with me because they said, "She looks like a little girl." So I thought that was funny.
Uh-huh.
So their observations of me kind of made me feel a little bit better.
Hmm.